With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Gather round, everyone, and prepare to be swept away by the thrilling exploits of Gino Cuddy, Clive Davis, and Nick Sheehan as they embark on a daring journey across the silent screen. They'll ride through the annals of film history, recounting the captivating saga of the silver screen's very first Western superstar. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Heart to Heart, the William S. Hart Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart, the William S. Hart Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Gino Cuddy, and I'm here with my regular co-hosts, Clive Davis and Nick Sheehan. And as always, we're going to be continuing our trail through the filmography of the late, great Western film superstar, William S. Hart. Before we get into reviewing the three films tonight, which are, as you probably know by the name of the episode, we're going to be reviewing The Darkening Trail, which is a four-reel feature from 1915. All three films are from 1915, so we're going to be reviewing the four-reel feature, The Darkening Trail, Tools of Providence, which is a short, and The Ruse, which is also a short. So those are the three films we're going to be discussing tonight. But before we get into that, I've been posting our episodes all over social media and all over message boards and such, and it was brought to my attention via a user on the message board Nitrateville, moderator, actually, a fellow going by the name of Silent Film, real name Bruce Calvert, who I've recently become Facebook friends with, says this. Regarding the latest episode, I looked up in Lantern, which is a resource created by the Wisconsin Film and Media Archive. I looked up in Lantern and found that the abridged version of Mr. Silent Haskins, called Dealing for Daisy, was already being sold to collectors in 8mm in the 1940s. Paul Killiam recorded a narration soundtrack long before commentary tracks were a thing, and it was definitely shown on television. I have a 16mm print of the Killiam version from Black Hawk. It was also being shown in Chicago's Museum of Science and Industry in 1943 as part of a Nickelodeon exhibit. So I found that to be pretty interesting, that cut down version that we saw for the previous episode, go listen to that if you haven't listened to it already, was already, being distributed as early as the early 1940s and was making the rounds there. So I want to thank Bruce Calvert of the website silentfilmstillarchive.com. Go visit that website for more. I want to thank him for providing that little nugget of information there, because I greatly appreciate that.
Some good message boards over there at Nitrateville, I have to say. A lot of information of interest.
Are you a member also, Clive?
I'm not a member, but I do skulk about.
You haunt the boards?
Yes. One thing you mentioned there, which is kind of jumped out at me a little bit, was the fact that it might have shown on television, which is kind of interesting, because I'm wondering when and where that might be, because it's not your typical television filler, right? I remember growing up occasionally, especially Channel 4 in the UK would occasionally the only time you'd really see silent films on television, but they tend to be comedies. I'm not exactly the ones that became known from the French company Lobster, right? The Lobster comedies that collected them. I guess they had a package that they would sell around the world to television stations and stuff. So you would occasionally see, but you wouldn't really see silent non-comedies on television. So I'm wondering in what market might have shown that.
Well, I have a little bit of a nugget of information for you here, Clive, and that
Ah,
is that Paul Killiam, in the 1960s, I don't know if this is necessarily his show, but it was a show that he had some involvement in. There was a show in the 1950s, 1960s, I think it was more or less the 1960s, for PBS called Silence Please, which showed a variety of
hmm.
silent films and such, and they were all from the Paul Killiam collection. So I think that that's where this was probably shown at some point on television, along with probably some other William S. Hart films. I mean, there is a there is a film from a I believe in this was like an educational film series called The History of the Motion Picture. And there actually is one that was done on William S. Hart, which
Oh,
highlights the film's Hell's Angels and, of course, his ultimate film, which is Tumbleweeds. But it gives
is
a
that
basic
something that
overview.
might be floating about on YouTube or something that we might be able to find? Or
Yeah, yeah, I could send that to you. Yeah, but but the reason why I would permit you to hold off on viewing that
yeah,
for the
yeah,
time
maybe
being.
we can do it for this at the end, maybe or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's because it actually gives a heavy plot synopsis and shows a lot of footage from Hell's Angels and
Ah, okay,
surmises
okay.
Tumbleweed, so it's best to hold off on that till
Yes,
we
yes,
actually watch the
yes.
full feature. So yeah, that's pretty much where people would see silent films on television in the 1960s.
Interesting.
If only we would be able to see silent films on PBS now instead of the upteenth Masterpiece Theater rerun. But that's just me. I know a lot of people like Downton Abbey, but give me some D.W. Griffith Intolerance and some Douglas Fairbanks Thief of Baghdad with some of that, please. Thank you. Thank you very
Is
much.
that something you don't find so much now outside of like I don't know, Turner Classic Movies or something like that? Or
Yeah, like nobody shows silent movies. As a matter of fact, I was a little bit esoteric in my own programming of the latest season of Six Gun Theater this past season, where it was all silent westerns, and showed some pretty obscure films too to boot, which a lot of people appreciated, but I'm not sure if anybody in this neck of the woods really would have appreciated that. But hey, it's me, it's what I do,
I
whatever.
suppose it is increasingly an acquired taste, isn't it? I suppose. But
Yeah,
it's an
and I think
interesting
that that's
one. We often talk on another show when we talk about kung fu films. There's like that era before they became, fully fledged kind of acrobatic workouts, and they're more punch and block, and we call them bashers. And when you're first becoming kind of fan, you you kind of tend to overlook them, and then you get a taste for them, and then there's kind of nothing better. And I feel silent films are a bit like that. Like they're very easy to overlook, but then once you kind of get a taste for them, you know, there's something about the silent era which really starts to command a certain sort of, the silent, the world of silent fandom is very loyal and
Hmm.
fervent, I would say.
I wonder if it's part of exposure, right? I mean, initially, like where did people of even our generation see silent films?
Yes,
You know,
yes. And I think that ties into why the fandom is so strong as well, because it's a mixture of it's not on a plate, right? So it's a mixture of enjoying it and the archaeology that comes in digging it out, right? So it's more proactive, a kind of hobby than something that just is easy to see, right?
and I think if you have any interest in genre cinema, or really cinema at all, but especially genre cinema, I mean, just doing this, watching these is already been an education in terms of seeing where the kind of bit of a Rosetta Stone of action movie templates. I mean, in fact, I was just thinking the other day, I was, I said I don't watch a lot of new films, but I happened to be watching some Jason Statham movie at my wife's request. My wife quite likes the works of Jason Statham, and I remember thinking to myself, this in many ways is a William S. Hart film with an awful lot more like explosions. But really like at the core of it,
Mhm.
it's bad man goes good, right? Or guy
Right.
who's got a unique set of skills from an earlier life of kind of being a badass now pulled back in to rescue some orphanage. Not that, but that kind of thing is a lot of what Statham does, and it's just him doing 21st century version of what William S. Hart is doing at the beginning of cinema, really. So I think
One
without
one day
you can't really understand why we have all of these tropes, why we have all of these, um, yeah, these generic conventions.
seeds, the
Yeah,
seeds. Yeah. One
yeah,
day we will do a peplum thing. Don't worry, not soon, Nick.
yes,
Calm
please
down.
give me some
Um,
time.
we will do a peplum thing, and then I'll blow your mind by we go back and watch the
Oh,
silent like Machiste films and stuff like
hmm.
that, and that's quite the revelation if you've not seen
Yeah,
Ah, yes,
those
yes.
before.
I wouldn't mind joining you for some of those because I dig a peplum here and there.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, I think
that would
maybe
be fun.
that might be a future project once William
Yeah.
S. Hart is done and dusted.
Mm,
I'm thinking
Yeah.
maybe some kind of peplomania kind of
mm.
pod would be. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, I would
it's
be
another overlooked genre for sure.
agreed.
Yeah.
But shall we bring us back to William and the Darkening Trail? And
All right. The first film we're going to be discussing is The Darkening Trail, a for-real feature released in May 31st, 1915. All three of these films we're going to be discussing tonight were produced by the New York Motion Picture Company under the supervision of Thomas H. Ince and distributed by Mutual. The alternate title for this film, which I actually prefer the alternate title of this film over the original title. The alternate title is Hellhound of Alaska. And this was directed by William S. Hart with a story and screenplay by C. Gardner Sullivan, who I would like to actually spotlight here for a minute. Just a little bit of information about Mr. Sullivan because he is a common
Very
collaborator
prolific.
with yeah, very prolific collaborator with William S. Hart. I mean, he had more than 350 films among his credits. And he, in 1924, the magazine Story World selected him on a list of the 10 individuals who contributed the most to the advancement of the motion picture industry from its inception forward. And four of Sullivan's films, namely The Italian from 1915, Civilization from 1916, a future film we're going to be discussing on this podcast, Hell's Hinges from 1916, and the original version of All Quiet on the Western Front from 1930 have all been listed in the National Film Registry. So C. Gardner Sullivan, very prolific, if sadly forgotten individual in film history, but I'm glad that we were able to give him mention here finally on the show. And you have Yukon Ed, played by William S. Hart, Jack Sturgis, played by George Fisher, Ruby McGraw, played by Enid Markey, who Nick pointed out to me as Miss Mendelbright from the Andy Griffith Show. You have Fanny, played by Louise Blum, making her, I believe, first appearance in a William S. Hart film. She'll be in numerous films to come in the William S. Hart catalog. And I think we should discuss her once we get to Hell's Hinges, because she's kind of an integral part of that plot. Then you have Ruth Wells, played by Nona Thomas, Mr. Wells, played by Milton Ross, and Mr. Sturgis Sr., played by Roy Laidlaw. And the plot of this film is basically after breaking his engagement with Ruth Wells, Jack Sturgis flees to Alaska where he meets Chicago storefront owner Ruby McGraw, who takes a liking to him. Unfortunately for Sturgis, the wild man Yukon Ed, played by William S. Hart, also loves her. And bowing in defeat, Yukon Ed arranges marriage for Sturgis and Ruby. However, after a night of drunken fun, Sturgis falls in a field where he is rescued by Ruby, who catches pneumonia for her trouble. After being sent for a doctor, Sturgis winds up in the saloon where he and a dance hall girl are carrying on an affair. Yukon Ed hears this and finds them drinking. Yukon then rides to fetch the doctor, but sadly they are too late, and Yukon vows revenge. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen this film. And I wrote in my notes that though top billed, Hart doesn't appear until the 19-minute mark, which for a film that only clocks in at 41 minutes is kind of late in the day, so to speak. I'll get into my thoughts because I've been talking a lot here. I'll get into my thoughts after you guys, but what did you guys think of The Darkening Trail, or my preferred title for it, Hellhound of Alaska, which I really like?
Well, the Alaska, it is worth mentioning when we first see the Chicago storefront, I was momentarily confused. I was wondering, oh, are we going to be jumping forward from Alaska to Chicago? I thought this might be some kind of, and then I figured it out. Oh no, I see. She's just named the storefront after the. So I was momentarily a bit. I thought it was going to be quite a wide-ranging epic, and we were going to be flashing back to Chicago and Alaska. But the reason I bring it up is because I don't know. I don't know Alaska very well, but I would struggle to maybe call it massively urban. But I suppose it probably is to a certain extent, right? And the reason I bring it up is because even though this podcast isn't called The Westerns of William S. Hart, right? I kind of assumed that everything we were going to be watching was a conventional Western. And all three of these films are not. And they're all, if you count Downtown Alaska, which I suppose we will, they're all urban and they're only Western in so much as I suppose they all take place at the kind of fringes of Western expansion, right? But they're all kind of the third one we'll get there has some action, but again, that feels more urban, like a heist film or something like that. None of these feel like Western. So I was just wondering, um, is this are we going to be seeing more non-Westerns across this? Okay.
I will say this. So I am I wrong in thinking so that opening segment that takes place. So basically, we're introduced to the Cad, right?
The cat.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jack Sturgis, right? And he's a rich boy. He's got a rich daddy, and he's basically carried on some sort of an affair with a young woman. And I mean, I reading between the lines, the silent lines, it seemed like he had gotten her pregnant. And
Yes.
she's in despair. She goes back. Her dad sees this letter where the guy tells her it's a really, really brutal letter. It's like basically like I can't remember the wording, but he's like you're like you'll be fine. Like don't contact me again. I'm sure it'll all be good. Like he's a jerk. But I think this is all taking place not in the Yukon. I thought this is
No, I
taking
think that is in Chicago. That's why I was
place in
confused later. Yeah.
that's all taking place in Chicago. And then it's when the Cad the whole he's forced into a shotgun marriage situation where he has to marry this young lady, and instead he decides to scarp her and run away to the Yukon where he's gonna try to make money and probably carry on his philandering, right? But it is surprising how much of the film is taken up with that kind of more like drawing room, yeah, like and it's good. That's all done really well. Like he's George Fisher is great as the Cad. Like he has all the sneering kind of like he
He
totally
looks like
sells
a
it.
cat.
He
He
looks like a
looks like a
Cad, yeah.
cat. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
He looks like he wandered out of like Great Gatsby or something, doesn't he?
yes, exactly. Yeah. He's just a rich kid who's clearly gone wrong, spoiled rotten, and yeah, no, I appreciated what he brought to it. But yeah, and then we go to the Yukon, and I thought the Yukon stuff was also all. I mean, I haven't been that far north in Canada, but that kind of Jack London, Call of the Wild, White Fang stuff it seemed pretty authentic to me. And I think I read in one of the reviews I read, apparently that was something that I guess William S. Hart was always very concerned about was authenticity, and so he always went the extra mile to try to make sure that the costumes and the sets and stuff looked like they should look. So I assume it was based on. I don't know where they shot that stuff, but assuming they didn't go to the Yukon, I'm sure he made sure he looked at photographs and the rest of it. Um, but yeah, anyway, but sorry, I interrupted you, Clive. You continue to speak your thoughts, and then
No, I mean, I enjoyed. I mean, I didn't dislike and like but I enjoyed one of these. This isn't one of them.
okay,
This is the one. Um, I mean, it's yeah. Again, it's fine, but I think I'm not a big the kind of more like you said, drawing room drama, love
Melodrama, yeah.
triangle, yeah, that kind of thing. It's not really. I don't really seek out those stories so much. And this is unexceptional in that regard. So it was an easy enough watch, but not one of my favorites thus far.
I'd like to say he never made a bad film, but this film, to at least to me, kind of makes a strong argument that maybe he did. I mean, it's like I just, the fact that we don't see the main man here until 19 minutes into the film, and that almost the whole of the film is taken up by the really unlikable George Fisher character, is like, I don't know. It just, why do we care about George Fisher? Why do we care about his plight? Why are we following this character? I would have much have preferred to pursue the Ruby McGraw character at the beginning, the one that
You have
makes it.
You have a
Yeah.
low CAD tolerance,
Yes, yes. I mean, why are we following this character to Alaska and following his story when I think the much more compelling story would be the girl he left at home? And actually, while watching this, I thought that the two storylines were going to intersect at some point. Like towards the end, I thought that, the father who threatened, oh, I'm going to take all your money and not leave you with a cent, unless you follow through with marriage. I thought that he was going to find him at some point and, bring the girl down and everything else. And William S. Hart was going to get involved and do all that. I had no idea that the story was that those two stories, like if you were to take that out of the film and just have open with him going to Alaska and just put up a title card saying that this was a ne'er-do-well character, I think you would have been fine. Like, I mean, I'm sure, yes, it's establishing some sort of a framework that, this guy isn't the best guy in the world, but you could have easily just established that with like maybe just like one title card. And I'm wondering if when this was later distributed to like television or something, if that's what they did. Because we never see those characters again. None of those characters ever come back again, and I don't know. This just seems like I'm with Clive. I mean, I like melodrama, as much as the next guy, but I'm not like I just wasn't too enthused with this film as I was with some of the others that we've seen. And again, a better print may, improve my opinion, but I just, I mean, it was nice to see Enid Markey again, and it was nice to see Louise Glom making her first appearance, and William S. Hart. But that's the one thing I want to actually remark on is that William S. Hart has throughout the years been sort of slapped on the wrist for his emoting. I don't think he emotes badly in this film at all. Like, people say, oh, he never handled love scenes well and handled that sort of stuff well. I think he did. I think he did remarkably well with his talents and that. I think he was actually the best, probably Western actor of that time. At least best actor in that genre of film. And so I disagree with the critics when they say that. But
it is surprising how considering that he is the OG Western hero, that he's a lot more vulnerable sometimes that some of his successors would have allowed for, right? He's not the stoic Charles Bronson type, right? Like he does, I mean, he can do that as well, but no, I appreciate that he's not afraid to kind of, as you say, kind of emote and yeah, it doesn't seem over the top or unearned or inauthentic. No, he's quite the. In fact, he does something which is. I was thinking about this. Interesting. Obviously, you get used to watching a lot of silent cinema. There's a lot of grand gesturing, right, which is necessary. William S. Hart kind of conveys a lot of stuff, but he seems to be like one of the first. I don't know. He's not method or anything, but like he's very internal, isn't he? He doesn't actually do a lot of that.
Yes.
Obviously, he's aided by some close-ups and stuff, but he's quite reserved for a silent.
I think restrained would be my,
Yeah.
and in a good way. Like he can do a lot with his face. He can do a lot with his body language without having to go to those huge grandiloquent gestures where you're throwing your arms around and then
not that I have anything against that stuff, but it's just interesting to see someone doing it differently.
No, it seems it seems like he got it earlier than a lot of actors that this isn't the stage. You don't have to play to the back rows. That you have when you have a camera in your face, you can dial it right back, and it's all the more effective for doing
I,
it.
I'm wondering, we didn't really get into this so much, but i- is William S. Hart purely a cinematic? Did he do stage work? Because
Yes, as a matter of fact, he
did.
did. He
Okay.
there's actually a really, really, really early film from I believe 1909 of film version of Ben-Hur, where it's believed that he's in that somewhere because he was in the original stage production in
Oh,
1888, I believe.
Um, I think I feel like I'm the outlier here because I quite like this one. And I quite liked I quite liked all of the stuff that maybe gives you guys pause. I liked the fact that the 15 minutes was an entirely different film. That was confusing. And then I was like, oh, this is weird. This is not going how I would have expected. Um, and I find that guy loathsome. He reminded me of uh, previous SNL actor Jay Moore. I don't know if you know who Jay Moore. He also was in a TV show called Action, which is actually quite a good kind of spoof of the whole Hollywood big budget movie making thing back in the 90s.
I try and avoid SNL whenever possible.
Well, this was not that was not SNL. That was something he did post SNL.
Ah, okay.
He was best known
Still
for
tarnished.
he was best known for his impression of Christopher Walken, which was very good. But anyway, this yeah, our piece of crap Cad definitely reminds me of him. But yeah, that was all. I didn't have a problem in a way with the film kind of following him because he gets his comeuppance. I quite like the him getting his comeuppance. That whole scene where William comes back, drags him in to the bed where his abandoned wife has died, and then basically tells him, she begged not to die alone, so I'm going to send you to see her right now. And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that's a
stuff I liked. I liked
that's a
the
great
last
scene.
few minutes of this film. I did like
Yeah,
the last few minutes, like
agreed.
when William S. Hart like when William S. Hart gets kicked into overdrive, and he discovers them drinking together, him and the dance hall girl, and once the other girl dies, and William S. Hart vows vengeance. I love that stuff. Like that was like total candy to me. So
And in
that
a
stuff was
way,
good. It's just
it's
everything
earned.
else around it felt like, ugh, why are we just following this guy that I just want to sock in the nose? Like
But
It's
but
why?
more
that's
turgid,
why
isn't it? Whereas that final bit is you go into like Douglas Sirk melodrama overdrive, and that's always fun, right? When you
I
Yeah.
feel like
overacted.
I feel like it's earned because we spent a long time with that guy, hating him. That when he does it as comeuppance for me, it's all the more powerful because I've been loathing this guy the entire running time, and when he finally, you're like, I hope somebody just kills this guy, and then he gets killed, and it's very cold, it's very exact. There's something that's just pure vengeance. It's a righteous hand of
Mm.
vengeance lands upon him, and that
No, the
stuff.
ending is good. The ending is
You
good.
know,
And
We've
it's okay.
established your love of
We don't have
killing, Nick.
to
We've established
argue.
that.
Yeah, we don't have to argue and reach we don't have to do
no,
a
no, I don't
thumbs
have
up,
to reach
thumbs down
consensus, but
on a
I'm just saying.
110-year-old film, right?
No,
To
I'm
make people go out into theaters to see it or stay at home.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm just saying, you know what? Different strokes for different folks. Your mileage may vary. For me, this was one that I quite enjoyed.
Isn't
Um,
that remarkable though when you say that out loud, that you get a perspective? This film is 110
years
years
old. Yes,
old.
yes, yeah. I mean, it's quite amazing sometimes when I watch the actors, especially, and there's something. Especially if like sometimes we get a print that's really good, and you can really see the actors' faces, and you realize that they are just people you might see on the street now, and it kind of compresses that time between, and it makes you realize, oh yeah, humans are humans. I kind of wish we had footage from the 1500s and from
That's the thing, isn't it?
you know
The further we get into history, you do wonder if that would be the case. It'll be like if we could have seen video footage of the Romans or something. Like people in far-flung can see, yeah, well, YouTube videos from the 21st century, and you know,
yeah. I mean,
I wonder if
eventually,
it actually if it's too much, like if it actually informs them or takes them down the wrong path,
Well, yes, hard to say. But yeah, no, there is something really human about watching these old films and just recognizing the common humanity and just being like, oh, that person looks like another actor or looks like a person I know, you know. Yeah. So are we done with the Darkening Trail, or what's the other title? Hellhound of the Yukon?
Hellhound of Alaska.
Hellhound of Alaska, right. So is it I'm sorry, are we done with it? Have we put it to bed?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, again, an inessential film to watch, really. But if you want to, trail the progress of William S. Hart's filmography like we're doing, then yeah, go for it. But hopefully you could find a better print than we watched. This came from my Alpha video collection, and so your mileage will vary with that. And I know that what Clive had said, and I agree with him that too many people take pop shots at Alpha Video because at least they're the ones out there releasing the stuff, and nobody else will. But I think if there were a better print of the Darkening Trail presented to me, I would rewatch it again. I don't know if it would necessarily change my overall opinion of the film, but you know what? I am glad that, we're doing this because I loved hearing Nick's opinion of this. And I don't know if it necessarily alters my perspective, but it is an interesting perspective, and I certainly respect his opinion on that.
In defense of Alpha Video as well, I mean, they are, like you said, they're putting out things that, otherwise aren't out there. And it's not as if, they're budget releases as well, right? Like,
yeah, like $5
they're
a
not
pop.
they're not ripping people off by giving substandard versions when something else is better for, a ridiculously high price,
Mhm.
So yeah, no, good on them. We need that's the thing. We like the boutique labels and we like
Mhm.
Criterion and stuff like that, but there's also room in the marketplace for these smaller budget labels that are, just so you at least you have access to stuff, right? You have access to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
All right.
our next film is Fools of Providence, which was released July 7th, 1915. It was distributed by Mutual under the Bronco banner. It's also known as Dakota Dan, Every Inch a Man, and Struggle in the Steeple. It was directed by William S. Hart with a story and screenplay by C. Gardner Sullivan and Thomas H. Ince. In the cast, we have Dakota Dan, played by William S. Hart, Daisy Wharton, played by Rhea Mitchell, Ace Farrell, played by Frank Borzage, Reverend Mr. Wharton, played by Walter Whitman, and this was preceded by a film which was unavailable for viewing called The Conversion of Frosty Blake. And this is a two-reel short film, and Nick actually found a better, pretty good version for us to watch. I had supplied him and Clive with my Grapevine video release of this, but Nick found a more complete version, albeit in rather worse for wear, by a label called Harpodian. And I want to tip my hat to them for that version, and I want to also tip my hat to Nick for finding that. So the plot of this film is after several attempts to bring religion to a small western town, Reverend Wharton and his daughter Daisy seek to convince local saloon owner Dakota Dan to attend the service. He agrees and brings the entire saloon with him. After the service, he is invited to dine with the Whartons, where Dakota proposes marriage and promises to cease his past life. Unfortunately, card sharp Ace Farrell arrives, insults Daisy, and gets beaten by Dakota for his trouble. Daisy sees this and breaks off the engagement upon leaving town. Dakota sees Ace give a non-consensual kiss to Daisy, which results in Dakota seeking vengeance. And it should be noted, and I made a note of this, that Ace Farrell is played by Frank Borzage, and Borzage is noteworthy as the first person to win an Oscar for Best Director for his film Seventh Heaven in 1927.
I was shocked by two cast members, and I'm not sure which one was more surprising for me. Number one, Walt Whitman. That I maybe I'm ignorant. I didn't know Walt Whitman had a film career.
It's that, sorry, this is the Walt Whitman?
But this is the Walt Whitman, the poet.
Egads, really?
What?
Yeah, well, I looked him up, and apparently, yes, it's unless the IMDb have fucked up massively. I suppose we could check out his Wikipedia page.
Oh, this is interesting. Sorry, it does say here trivia on the IMDb page, not the American poet Walt Whitman, 1819 to
Not.
1892,
Really? Okay.
because he would be dead if he died in 1892.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. In that case,
But too bad.
um,
That would have been an awesome find if it was the Walt Whitman.
yes, he died a bit. Well, yeah. Okay, so there we go. I'm now
Hey,
slightly
unless
less
William S. Hart
surprised.
brought him back through the use of AI, I mean, there's no telling.
Poor Peter
So there we
Cushing.
go. I'm now
Yes.
slightly less surprised than I was previously.
Um,
But still, Frank Bozage is quite surprising because, like you said, yeah, known more as a director. I think the last film he made was that Journey Beneath the Desert. He co-directed with Edgar J. Ulmer, but yeah, yeah, damn, can't believe I got that wrong. I could have sworn I must have read everything except the knot.
right. Um, but it's I will say that the Harp Odeon print, they've obviously done some work themselves to kind of it's a bit of a composite. Like they've obviously found two different prints, they've suited them together, and also occasionally gone to still images with intertitles. But it's not a bad job. It's not a bad patch-up job to give you, it's not the same as seeing the film as it was originally intended,
Well,
Mhm.
but
but
the
it's not
11-minute
bad.
version is just half the story, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's basically it's a one reeler, so this makes it the two reeler. You get the full two reels. But but yeah, I
and
would have
again,
to.
not the conventional Western that you might be expecting, right? Very much a kind of but also a Struggle in the Steeple. That's a good title.
Yes.
That's a
Is
Three Stooges short title if ever I've heard one.
um,
Imagine William S. Hart directed by Del Lord. Yeah, that would
Yes.
have been interesting.
ooh, that would have been, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. It does have this. It has spoilers, but our bad guy ends up getting kind of. Does he get shot by accident? Or I mean, like it seems like the Reverend says like, oh, William didn't mean to kill him. It was a ricochet off the bell, but it wasn't that clear to me that that's exactly what was going down. I felt like the movie left a little room there for the possibility that William S. Hart was just
Hmm.
like, nope, you're done, buddy. Um, but yeah. I mean, this is another one where he's a roughneck who kind of turns a new leaf, and um, and he really
Saw
doesn't
this.
like. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I saw this as more or less a return to form for William S. Hart after the Darkening Trail. This is more of a return to form. I mean, it is a western. It's set in a western town and everything. I mean, I actually, while watching this, saw shades of what we will see coming up soon here in Hell's Hinges, with William S. Hart's face being turned by a pretty girl of a religious background. So, I mean, William S. Hart does in this film as Dakota Dan, great name by the way, does start off as kind of like an asshole. I
Mhm.
mean,
But yeah, no, he's definitely a roughneck. He's definitely a jerk. Um, but yeah, he kind of I do like that he's deeply offended by this guy, this bounder who comes in off the street and kind of dares to cast aspersions on the purity of
Well,
the
here's the thing, it's an interesting distinction as well. What is the difference? And you're quite right, but what is the difference between a bounder and a cad? But you're right. He's not a cad, he is a bounder.
I
But
don't
there's but I
know.
don't know how you would I don't know how I would express it, but you're quite right. One is a cad, one is a bounder, but I don't know how I would further kind of put that into words.
But there is a scene that's quite effective actually at the beginning. So when she first comes in to the bar, and it's Dakota's bar, right? and he makes a deal with her. He says like, "I'll go to church if you serve my patrons," right?
Yeah.
And she does it. She kind of meets him at it, and she
That's
goes,
a scary bar.
"It
That's a
is. I mean, like,
scary fucking
yeah,
bar.
they're a yeah a mean bunch of drunks, and they're kind of jostling her and yelling at her and
Well,
stuff."
they're not just a mean bunch of drunks. I mean, they're you know, it's a film from 1915, so they're not going to spell it out. But she's an inch away from being gangbanged, basically,
Seems
is
like
what's intimated. Yeah,
she's getting grabbed at for sure, and then he kind of realizes it's gotten out of control, and he pulls her back, and then he kind of says something along the lines of like, I feel like I'm a real piece of crap. Like I shouldn't have done that to you, and I'm sorry, and I will be there at church tomorrow, and I will force all of the rest of the patrons to go, which is quite funny. He literally beats them up and then tells them, "I'm closing the bar down for good if you don't go," and they all kind of there's this great scene of them trying to clean themselves up. Everyone's like beating the dust off their jeans and they're like trying to like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess we have to go to church now, if in order to, drink ourselves sick later in the day.
yeah. It's almost a
Yeah.
comedy at that point, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, but an edgy comedy for the time, I think. Um, but then yes, yeah,
It's almost it's a shame, really. I feel as if this one was in such a compromised position in terms of we're only kind of seeing half of it, and then the other half we're just seeing if I find it quite difficult to actually, you know, in
Appreciate it.
good faith pass judgment on it. Yeah, yeah, I didn't care for it, but I'd be quite happy to reevaluate it at some point if it was presented in a decent way. Plus, as well, I mean, I it sometimes it's different as a non-religious person. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to swallow. This is a very strong, religious narrative, right? Pro religion thing, which is I can appreciate um people who do have a belief, but it's difficult for me to take seriously as an atheist. But that's just me.
no, I'm ambivalent. I appreciate it on the merits, I guess, of kind of yeah, that kind of the action cinema elements of it, I guess. And the humor, which whether it's intentional or not, I felt like there was a thread of humor in there. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's from the heart. It's well meant.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
mileage will vary depending on yeah, for sure.
But it's just that, there's always that slight one step that's always slightly difficult. Or I can take it, but it depends on like a really good film can kind of make me forget, and I can go with it. But this was a little bit too much of a slightly hectoring tone, in that
But
direction.
in a way, funnily enough, the film draws attention to it because, like, most of the rest of the patrons of the bar, most of the rest of the characters of the film are kind of like grumbling and kind of like,
Right.
why do
Plus,
we
I
have to
think
go to
it's
church?
Clive, you have become the bar. You have become the barfly.
The bar patrons.
yes, yes, yes. I think it's the crossover as well. I think it's not just the religion, it's the religion plus the pro abstinence kind of, which we'll have in a lot of these films, right? The cads are, drink is just one element, right? That
Sinfulness and
yeah, yeah.
well, they're bounders and cads, Clive. They're bounders.
Yes, and never the twain shall meet.
We'll have to find the Venn diagram of where the bounder and the cad. What is the
There's a
overlap?
different word for that. Yes.
Right.
Which
Um,
is when we can't say, because then you'll have to put another explicit
exactly.
warning. Yes.
But yeah, no, I didn't mind this. It wasn't my favorite of the three. I suspect maybe Clive and I we might come to an agreement here. I think the last one is going to be your favorite and mine as
Yes.
well, possibly. But I liked the Darkening Trail more than either of you guys. But I do like the Ruse an awful lot. But we'll get there in a second. I don't know if I have anything else that I need to.
Gino, are you a fan of Tools of Providence? I don't believe you've actually
like it in the sense that it's laying the groundwork for future films and Hart's filmography.
Right.
It's like, the film. It's like when we discussed On the Night Stage a couple episodes back. How that was being compared to Hell's Hinges. This I could definitely see some roots of Hell's Hinges coming through, and so I like it for that. And but other than that, I mean, it's just there. I mean, I enjoyed what I watched. Again, I'm with Clive on this. If there was a more complete and there's a more complete and better print out there, I think our enjoyment, like how I felt about Darkening Trail, I think if there was a better print available, I think that our enjoyment of it would probably increase somewhat. But
Well, at least
yeah.
it would be given a fair fight, right?
Yes, yes. But for what it is, I liked what I saw, and I'm glad that I saw it. But yeah, I really have no. I think that this is probably the first podcast where we're going to actually be all in agreement. I think. While I did like Tools of Providence, I think I also favor the Ruse, of all the films. So I think now would be a good time to get into that.
Let's do it.
So let's discuss The Ruse, which was released July 14th, 1915. It was in production between April 8th to the 20th of 1915. The production cost was $1,863.72, which in 2025 would be $59,610.99. This is also known as, curiously enough, The Square Deal Man, which is weird because there's another William S. Hart film with that title. And was also known as simply A Square Deal. It was directed by Hart with a story and screenplay by A.P. Johnson and Thomas H. Ince. It was photographed by Robert Doran, and it was preceded by a missing film, which was called Cash Parrish's Pal. In the cast, you have Bat Peters, played by William S. Hart, Mae Dawson, played by Claire Williams, John Folsom, played by Jack Davidson, Mrs. Dawson, played by Fanny Midgley, Mother Grady, played by Gertrude Clare, and a gangster played by the ever-lovable Robert Cortman. In the plot, we have reformed gunfighter Bat Peters arrives in Chicago to sell his mine containing ore to crooked John Folsom. Needing lodgings, Folsom's receptionist Mae Dawson puts Peters up at her mother's house. One evening after her shift, Mae overhears Folsom and his conspirators plot to swindle Peters. Folsom has her kidnapped and held in an old building. Folsom brings in a fake Westerner to help swindle Peters, but Peters sees through the ruse and rushes to rescue Mae.
Shame it doesn't have the AKA, bunkers in the bank or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. This one is fascinating. It starts out and it wrong foots you right away by seeming like it's going to be a Western, and then it relocates quite quickly to, fairly contemporary looking Chicago, and it becomes, to me, almost like some of those faces, like Bob Cortman especially, but it's almost like a Dick Tracy short with some of those dudes. Like those,
Dick Tracy meets cue ball.
yeah, like that group of thugs are fantastic.
I resemble that remark.
And then yeah, no, I said, like, this great action. There's the old lady referred to in some reviews as a hag who kind of holds a captive. She's great. Yeah, no, I had tons of fun with this.
This is definitely one. I mean, it's not going to blow anyone's mind or anything, but this is certainly the one that would work if you were as a gateway drug, if you were going to try and introduce, because especially when it gets into its final kind of race against time and shootout and stuff, it feels very, very modern, doesn't it? Like, I can see it, and as well, it won't overtax anyone at 23 minutes. So it's a good one to maybe introduce someone to the joys of silent cinema, because it does play very contemporary, right? And it doesn't pale in comparison at all. It's a thriller. It's a good
Hmm.
little tight thriller that just happens to not have, sync sound. That's it. But it doesn't need it, Like if you think about now films like Rafifi, for example, famously decided to pull long heist scenes without dialogue and stuff. And nowadays that's a thing as well, to ratchet up tension. It's to suddenly take this sound out, and you think, well, here we go.
Hmm.
The option of sound, right? So yeah, I think this is the one I enjoyed the most. This is the one I was like glued to the whole way through and felt no need to, kind of make any special pleading for,
Hmm.
no, straight up, nice little thriller.
Hmm.
Again, yeah, one of the highlights of the William S. Hart filmography thus far for me.
Mhm.
And just the image too of so I mean, William S. Hart plays a real cowboy. There's also a kind of a fake cowboy who is
Mhm.
hired by the guys trying to swindle him to kind of this is part of their plan to kind of trick him into gambling his money away. But the scenes of like these two guys wearing their kind of cowboy hats sitting in contemporary Chicago, and then this Bob Cortman with that incredible face of his. And he's, for some reason, not an actor I was aware of before this, even though he appears to have done 300 films or something like that.
Yeah, like
Um,
if you watch like especially westerns of this time period and like B westerns and stuff, he's a common face you'll see. Like he's like, oh, it's that guy. He's one of those types of guys that if you watch enough of these films, like I've watched dozens upon dozens of B westerns and silent westerns, so he's one of those guys for me. So and I think that he's a character actor that we'll continue to see throughout at least this filmography of William S. Hart's.
he's got an amazing face. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's got a face for Italian cinema. You could easily see him in a spaghetti western, or he's got such an incredible craggy
Pick
skin.
out your bingo cards.
There you go.
Yeah.
But his last performance is in 1953. So as I said, like he had a lengthy career of playing heavies and toughs and Streets of Laredo, Broken Arrow. He's in, not obviously the one with Christian Slater. And yeah, he's in tons of
Walt
stuff.
Whitman's not in that either.
No, no, he is not, Clive. Um, anyway, yeah, no, yeah, I was really surprised by how fun this one was, and just that the unlikeliness of the cowboys in this urban setting facing off against yeah, guys who look like they come out of a Dick Tracy short. So lots of fun. I guess if it's a Chicago-based Western, is it a Midwestern? Is the question.
Mm.
And is that even a genre? If not, it should
The
be.
Midwestern.
Um, but yeah, no,
That was a mid amusing comment.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it didn't reach actually amusing, but it was right there.
The other
Um,
way.
yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I like this one so much. I feel like I'm having a harder time talking about it because all I want to say
This
is
sometimes happens. I've
good.
noticed in podcasting. There's the thing that you have less words for it, right? Because it kind of speaks for itself, right?
Mhm.
There's not much. It's not complicated. It's yeah. It's a good heist thriller
Mm.
with a fun shootout, and that's about it, really. But it is good. It
There
is
is a
good.
nice bit at the very end though, where where Hart he basically says he's going to go back, right? Doesn't he say he's going to go back out west again because
Yes.
he doesn't cotton to all of this malarkey that's going on in Chicago, and he offers to take a girl with him, and then it seems like she agrees. So he gets his happy ending in this one. Um, because
Assuming you like this one, too, Gino.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you guys. I think that thus far. I mean, I still think that his better shorts, at least for the ones that we've seen thus far, are Bad Buck of Santa Ynez and The Sheriff's Tricky Yellow. But this one I would probably put at a solid number 3 as far as at least the short films of his that we've seen thus far. Very
it's the pick of
enjoyable.
this bunch, isn't it? It's the pick of this bunch.
Yes, certainly. I like the shootout. I like the fight scene. Yeah, that ending was great. And it was nice seeing Claire Williams again. And we're going to be seeing her in Hell's Hinges coming up. Yeah. And that Mother Grady character played by Gertrude Clare. Oh my God. Peg is, and I'm sorry to say, Nick, I know that you don't probably care for the description, but I think it's apt. I really think so, because all the time I was watching her, I was going,
Right.
oh my Lord, she was something else in this film.
Mm.
You know, but yeah.
That's what's great about character actors, right? I mean, cinema desperately needs for every square-jawed hero, we need solid character actors,
Top
right?
Portman guys,
They
yeah.
just don't work. Yeah. So they were, yeah, this movie really held its own between Bob and Gertrude. They were.
Yeah. You guys got anything else to say? Because if not, we could wrap up.
Yeah, no, I mean, the project continues to bear fruit, so I'm happy to stay in the saddle, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we weren't in the saddle for these films, we were more in like a motor car or
Right.
walking alongside the horse or something.
Yeah. In a Yukon bar.
Yeah. Which are fucking terrifying and full of.
Well, yeah, it's the Yukon. I mean, it was.
Yes, I suppose in those days, yeah.
That was definitely a frontier, for sure. It would have been still kind of is up there a little bit in Canada, I have to say. And actually, the oil sands for a while in Alberta in the 2000s, very much a modern day Wild West up there too. So it's interesting that these things kind of still exist in a way, even in North America, places where there are kind of like booms and all the same problems, all the same vices, and the rest of it very much going on. So, but we don't, sadly, didn't have William S. Hart to come in and set everybody straight.
Yeah. But all right. I think that about does it for this episode of Heart to Heart, the William S. Hart podcast. This has been Gino Cuddy, and I have been joined by my co-hosts Clive Davis and Nick Sheehan. Thank you all for listening, and if you feel the need to do so, please leave a comment, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us across all the podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, and iHeart Radio Podcast Network. Feel free to donate to the PayPal down below. And thank you all for listening. In the words of William S. Hart, adios, amigos. God bless you all, each and every one.
This has been a Gino Cuddy podcast production.